Greetings, everybody. My name is Tommy the Keyblade Master, and welcome to my channel. Well, yesterday I got done reviewing The Legend of Korra, and last night I finally went out to see the the Fantastic Four. I walked into that movie knowing it would be a bad experience, but I wanted to know if it would be as bad as the time I watched the original Fantastic Four movie about a decade ago. And I was thinking, this would be a great time to talk about narratives because both of the two things I'm talking about have been panned because of their narratives. Now, the Legend of Korra video game I defended because even though it had a light narrative and even a somewhat bad narrative if you compare to what the Legend of Korra TV series brought to the table, it fit the game perfectly. And anyone who knows what Platinum Games does and what type of games they make shouldn't be too surprised that that's what we got was this game that was kind of light on story. That's their specialty. They make games that are more action based and not narrative based. They're not Square Enix, they're not Telltale, they're not Namco Bandai. They kind of just make those over the top action games, and the stories fit the usual video game cliches that you need to go through in order to at least understand what you're doing, and Korra provided that perfectly. But for the most part, it was just a standard action brawler, but I enjoyed myself playing The Legend of Korra. So my thought on this is, sometimes it's okay for a game to have a light narrative, even if its source material can be very heavy and even dark at times. So I didn't mind Korra's light narrative. Now, I do like games that are heavy in narrative if the narratives are entertaining and if the game provides those stops to have those narratives. I'm a huge fan of the Tales series, and I usually enjoy the narratives as long as the character banters are pretty good and I enjoy the characters. Games that have really great plots and stories like Final Fantasy X and the first few Kingdom Hearts are games I also really enjoy with heavy narrative, but you have to have a time and place for that in a game. Legend of Korra didn't have a time and place for that, but for what it brought, I enjoyed it. Now, on to my movie review of The Fantastic Four and why I was disappointed in that one. And, remember when Alloy 7 did his Batman Arkham Knight review, he was talking about how Hollywood was making things darker. And, with Batman, it can work as long as it's done right. And a lot of the comic books are starting to take a dark turn. Well, since the original Fantastic Four is panned for being way too cheesy and way too silly, the new remake decides to go too much 180 the other way to where it is boring. Now, the original one might have been too cheesy, but there was a team dynamic. You got banter, you got some character out of these guys, even the villain. They may have been cheesy, stupid characters, but there was character to them. Now, in the new movie, The Fantastic Four, there is none of that. Yeah, it's darker. The Fantastic Four are immediately brought in, experimented in, used as military project, all except for Reed, who decides to bolt. And Johnny Storm is, of course, okay being a weapon because it gets some attention. And it's like, this isn't entertaining. I don't care about these characters, and this is where Fox screws up on the narrative. Yes, modern day comic book movies are starting to take themselves more seriously. They are more grounded than what we saw in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But the good ones still have time to be silly, to have some levity, and to go, hey, we're a comic book superhero movie. You're supposed to be enjoying yourselves. Have some fun. For the example, in the Avengers, you have a running gag that really helps you understand Captain America's plight and problems. He is a man that is out of his time. So he starts lecturing Iron Man about his language, which immediately gets the rest of the team to start ragging. Whenever one of them says a minor cuss word, Cap's around. That's a great running gag that, the Captain came from a time when America was less crass. So, it was a really great running gag, and it also kind of helped center around, this guy, it's obviously a joke and a bit of a tormenting from friends, but it's something that he's really having to struggle with. The fact that he is no longer in a time that he knows who he is or what to do with. That's a great joke. Another great joke from that movie is that only Thor can pick up his hammer, only someone who's worthy of it, and even the cat can barely, lift it up off the table. And it does prove an important plot point when Vision comes in. That's how he's able to win Thor's trust, is he's able to pick up the hammer and hand it to him. And that provides a really great joke for Iron Man later as well. If you put the hammer in the elevator and it goes up, does that mean the elevator's worthy of the power of Thor? But there was those really great jokes that helped you bond. In the Fantastic Four, there wasn't any of that. So my thoughts to Fox and to anyone else trying to make a dark superhero movie, stop and think if there's anything you can do to put a little light. You can't be dark 24/7. Even Batman had its points there. It could be humorous and you could bond with the characters. When you're too dark, you're boring. Anyways, that's just my thoughts on two different pieces of entertainment that I thought had very different narrative styles and I disagreed with. Anyways, before I go tonight, I would like you to subscribe to my channel. I do audio logs like this all the time. I also talk about what's new each week on the Virtual Console and on the PSN and what sales you should be looking out for on these different consoles. And I also do plenty of game reviews as well, and I'm looking forward to getting into a little live streaming now that YouTube is pushing that to the front. I would like to try my hands on that, so I might give that a hand at that in the future. So I would love to have you as a subscriber to my community. This is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.